I just had the best interview with Marie-Laure Frère, CEO of Indoors Outdoors and the Director of Sales for the Four Seasons Private Residences in Nashville. And I just couldn't help but coming out of that convo with a huge smile on my face. It was honestly very refreshing to speak with someone who was so accomplished in the industry, yet grounded, and truly having the courage to be herself in and out of the boardroom. I cannot wait for you to watch.
Marie-Laure Frère, I'm so pleased to be meeting with you. Thank you so much for joining me today in Spark's ongoing series featuring the brilliant people behind influential new development projects in the US. Marie-Laure, I hope you don't mind if I just start off by highlighting a few of the reasons why we believe you truly embody an inspiring leader in the real estate development industry. So I've done a little bit of research and I know that you are the CEO of Indoors Outdoors, a real estate consulting firm specializing in pre-construction sales and turnaround projects all around Europe and the US. You lead the strategic sales and marketing strategy for the one and only Four Seasons Private Residences in Nashville, recently surpassing over 200 million in private sales and probably more, and we'll chat more about that. And you didn't just fall into this inspiring career. You seem to have made it your legacy over the last 20 years by having direct involvement in dozens of high-profile real estate sales launches. And to top it all off, you're licensed in 12 states, speak 4 languages, and you've sold in excess of 3 billion in sales across the globe. Not too shabby. Thank you so much for being here, Marie-Laure.
It's always so fun when you hear what you've done through the mouth of someone else. You know, for me, it's just day to day. You kind of sit back and you realize 20 years is a long time.
It adds up. all of the accomplishments, hey, and that's just the tipping point. Let's start in your own words. Can you just tell us how you got your start in the industry, where you came from, a little bit more about you?
About me. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about that question, and I really have to thank my father. I know a lot of people do that during award shows and things of that nature, but he was in the construction industry in hotels. And he moved from France to Southern California to open up hotels up and down the California coast, in particular around airports. And so as a little girl, I was on construction sites with him. I was in and out of back-of-house kitchens being built. I was around contractors and subcontractors. And even though there wasn't a residential component, I think there was something always magical about the hotel, being able to entertain and take care of people and the whole hotel industry at large, and seeing them from breaking ground to even standing by my dad during ribbon cutting ceremonies. You really got to see something start to finish. And I feel that definitely had something to do with even my love for what I do. I get to bring pre-construction projects from design to the market, and now get to walk into places that they're going to call home for many, many years. So I do think the start really came from those early days with my kid-sized construction hat on, following my dad around.
Wow, that's a really cool upbringing. You could almost say this industry is in your blood.
It was fun. And, you know, it was even in France, there were construction sites and there were developments, and that truly was, and still is, what he loves. So it was fun to really see someone like him be able to get a start as a French national in France and recreate what he did in the United States. So you realize the industry is transportable. Hotels, residential living, it's the same thing one country to the next, just different laws, different regulations.
Wow, a very global perspective. And I know that you've been involved in a number of projects around the globe now throughout your career. Can you give us some highlights and tell us about some of those?
Oh gosh, I think some of the most fun ones I've done have been beach ones. I absolutely love beaches internationally. I myself love to surf, and I'm, you know, if I could spend my entire rest of my days in a bikini, I think I would. So I'm partial to the beach ones.
Hard hat and a bikini. Hey?
Hard hat and a bikini. Yeah, that might sell. One of the most fun ones I did just recently was in Bermuda. Bermuda is an island that is so rich of its independent culture, beautiful sands, and working with Tucker's Point was just incredible. And it was interesting, even from a learning perspective, because of the regulations and the rules for me being non-Bermudian and how I was allowed to sell real estate and the restrictions that limited how I could present real estate and what I could and couldn't do. So as you sell real estate worldwide, you're completely subjected to the laws and the customs and also the traditions of different countries. And in Bermuda, being non-Bermudian, I had an on-site sales team that actually handled the sales so that we always stayed within regulations of the country laws. Being a real estate agent in Bermuda, it's a protected class. You have to be Bermudian. So,
Oh, interesting.
fascinating. So
That's fascinating. Yeah.
isn't it? It's one of the things that I do love about selling worldwide is finding ways to comply with the laws and how to also get creative. So at the end of the day, if your project is in Spain, well, how do you work within those regulations, but still bring an American market or a Parisian market or, markets coming in from Portugal? And what are the marketing laws? And it's fascinating. It makes the job much more open and much more creative. And it gets your mind thinking that very often people don't get to think that way. It's really a global perspective.
And surely immersing yourself in the culture along the way must be amazing, and definitely one of the perks. And then surely your global perspective on your business practices, has that shaped how you do business in the US now? Obviously, you've learned so much, but what would you say that's done to your business practices back here in the US?
You realize at the end of the day, we're all the same. And what people are looking for is meaning, it's substance in their life. And for the majority of us, home is where that substance is rooted. And home to a lot of people, especially in the residences that we bring to the market, matters. And it has much less to do with me as a director of sales or me as a sales agent, and much more to do with being a connector. At the end of the day, my only job is to connect people to these lives, whether they're national or international, and figuring out if they're a fit for them or not. And I find that a lot of people try to push people into an agenda. And once you realize that everybody does want a wonderful substantive life, you realize truly all you can do is sit back and see if what you have to offer is a fit for them. Because if it's not, then it won't have as much meaning to them.
That's very well said. I feel like I'm going to say that a few more times. That's beautiful. So I really want to chat about the Four Seasons private residences in Nashville. I've obviously read the headlines. Your team set a record for like 200 million in sales. I saw something about 80 million in pre-sales in a single day. Wow, what an exemplary project. Certainly sounds like the first of its kind in Nashville. What would you attribute the success to? Tell us about that.
In all fairness, we're in a bit of a perfect storm. Nashville is a white hot market. We have a brand that is the very first 5-star residential offering in a city whose residential core is just starting in downtown. So we're definitely the pioneer, and it's been years of waiting for this market. And one thing that's been really interesting is the majority of my buyers are from Nashville. To be that well received from Nashville, from your own city, is something I have very rarely seen. A lot of changes in life. So my empty nesters who are from the suburbs are choosing to downsize, and we're a perfect fit for them. And as well as something I haven't seen in any other city, individuals buying a second home, whether they live on the outskirts, they're buying a second home in downtown. And I think it speaks to how exciting Nashville is as a city, from the arts, the culture, the music, the sports. The city is never ending. And I have dozens of homeowners who just wanted a pied-à-terre in downtown because they love coming here. So it's truly been just a perfect storm.
Wow. That's incredible. And I've heard so much about Nashville lately. Seems like people are flocking to the city. And I definitely expected you to say that there's going to be a much higher investor or own buyer buying in this project. So it's really interesting to see that a lot of them are from Nashville, and certainly that's probably quite a positive thing. knowing that the building is going to be housed with people that are actually living in the city and enjoying the city, and the units aren't just going to be empty for vacation rentals, right?
No,
I'm sure there's going to be a mix, but
there's going to be a great mix. And it was interesting. We had our very first homeowner party, and we had about 120, 150 people in attendance. Neighbors who hadn't told their neighbors they had purchased ran into each other. And it was interesting. Somebody had kept their purchase a bit quiet. And it was almost as if their purchase was validated. Oh, my neighbor's here. I can't believe they bought also. We're so excited. And did you know so-and-so? Why didn't you tell us so-and-so purchased? So it's become something that I think people are exceptionally proud of. And I keep hearing, oh my gosh, Nashville's arrived. We have a Four Seasons. And I always turn it around saying, no, Four Seasons is here because of what Nashville is, where it's been, where it's going. And I think there is such pride. People who live and who adore Nashville, there is such a significant amount of pride in their city that I think it truly fuels the purchases, and it fuels the validation of a purchase. So it's been a part of that.
Can you talk a little bit about the building, the design, the amenities? I mean, everyone knows that a Four Seasons is impeccable when it's behind a private residence, but what makes the Nashville one so special?
You know, this is unlike any other property I've ever sold. We are on 2 acres, and to have 2 acres in the middle of a downtown is unheard of. So what it allowed us to do was to not only have the residential tower and the hotel, but an incredible amount of outdoor space. So from a massive resort style pool deck with an infinity edge pool to an entire 14th floor dedicated to homeowners with one of the coolest amenities I've ever seen. It's an owner's sky garden. It overlooks all of downtown, tremendous sunset views, movable seating, fire pits, there's barbecues. But what this outdoor space allows us to do is the real estate, whether someone's buying a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom or the larger 2 and 3s, it makes the real estate live that much larger. So for people who are debating size-wise, once they get a sense that this building is truly a haven in the middle of a downtown, even I think it's why our 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms have sold so well. The space just lives tremendously large. And it's been fun. I've had a lot of families who've come in saying, oh, we absolutely need a 3-bedroom. And when we start talking and they look at the building and the floor plans and the amenities, they finally say, you know what, maybe we only need 2. Our kids are grown. They can stay at the hotel and we'll be on the Sky Garden anyway. And I'm like, I think it's a great idea. Let's save you.
There you go. There you go.
Perfectly happy. So this building has allowed even the real estate options and our buyers to pivot. And they realize that they're not pigeonholed into one residence. The building allows them to view this property in many different ways. And I think that's exceptional. That's truly the gem of the design of this building, is the tremendous outside space in a busy downtown, an exciting downtown.
Wow. That is so incredible. 2 acres, you said?
2 acres.
Wow.
2 acres.
I'm gonna have to come down and visit, possibly fit in a tour. Our borders are opening up soon, so. Okay, let's talk about that. I mean, I don't actually know exactly when you launched, but you were likely knee deep in sales during the global pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about how that impacted your business, your sales strategy? What was that like?
Absolutely. So the very first release where we sold the 80 million was about 2 days before the entire world kind of came to a screeching halt. So
wow, look at that timing.
And we didn't know really what to expect. The building that my sales gallery is in wasn't allowing guests, so our tours did come to a halt. And we had to pivot, and we were caught off guard. Our phones started ringing at the end of April, pretty aggressively. We were supposed to do a second campaign in May, and I was caught off guard by the demand. Our phones and individuals inquiring, saying, listen, we understand there's a health scare in our world. We still need a place to live. And you're opening in 2022. We're a couple of years out, but this is something we want, and this is something that we want to learn more about. So we came back to work. May 1st, my entire team was here. We were fielding phone calls. Of course, we took the necessary precautions for those that did want to come meet in person, from my team being tested to, the XYZ that we did. But we never slowed down. And I think one of the biggest differences that I found is we focused on the future. We didn't focus on the today, because at the end of the day, in pre-construction, what you're presenting is the future. There's a wait. And I think we were able to focus on, well, where do you see yourself in a year and a half? Where do you see yourself living? Once this is all done, what does life look like for you? Right now, yes, it's confusing. Right now, I'm sure it's scary and you're not quite sure what's coming, but where do you see it going? And so we shifted our entire presentation and our language to really reminding people that in life, and I think you've experienced it, I've experienced it, life is a bumpy road. There's going to be ups and downs and crazy events in our life that we can never predict. And if you hold fast to what it is you want in your life, what you want to attract and what matters, and you stay that course, it allows you to navigate those bumpy up and downs life throws at us a lot easier and with a lot more grace. And I find that by focusing on where people wanted to be in a couple of years, their shoulders relaxed. They didn't worry about the restrictions, the masks, the grocery store, whatever they had to face in the day-to-day, knowing there was something incredible waiting for them.
Yeah, when everyone else probably shut down, you remained open and you gave them that comfort and peace of mind about the future. This is going to be your home no matter what the future, brings. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I just love your perspective on the industry. I love, from what I've read, you don't seem to be afraid to call it like it is, push boundaries in your career.
Gotten me into trouble.
Yeah. I was reading on your website, I'll quote this. You built your business from the realization that large scale sales and marketing wasn't evolving, and you knew that it had to be better. We're very aligned with you, and that's why we kind of wanted to have this conversation. You're a change maker. We're innovating more on the technology side. You're innovating creatively, strategically with these projects. We're kind of behind the scenes with the tech. So I wanted to ask you about technology innovation. Surely home buyers at the Four Seasons private residence and all of your projects, because you specialize in, are buying into a refined and sophisticated living experience, kind of commanding probably a very seamless buying experience from beginning to end. What has that looked like recently? Has there been a big shift in how you're using technology to sell these projects? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Oh, I am heavily dependent on technology, and I think it's going to be even more so as our world continues to evolve over the next number of years. The technologies that we have in the sales gallery were the reason that I was able to stay open. Everything from obviously, throwing someone from a phone call to a FaceTime, or from a FaceTime to a Zoom to involve attorneys for legal reviews, to families that were separated. I had, families that wanted to purchase together, but the in-laws were, at a home in Montana and the children were here in Nashville. And so being able to use technology to bring people together, to have them make the buying decision as a group and as a whole. And you're right, it had to be seamless. But the technologies such as yours, the technologies that we used here, from drone footage, we flew drones to show the views from every private residence. And technologies like that didn't exist before, but in pre-construction, very often there isn't a building to show. So as much as you can talk about how beautiful the views are, being able to make it tangible for buyers, they can actually see it, feel as if they're stepping into it before they buy, is critical. And technology will continue to evolve. It is any real estate agent who thinks that they are not dependent on technology, whether it's in database management, to being able to show floor plans, to screen technology, needs to catch up. Our buyers are demanding better presentation. They're demanding a lot more depth, and not necessarily what are the finishes, what kind of flooring. That stuff doesn't necessarily matter in the very beginning. Someone is still trying to figure out whether your offering is a fit for them or not. And so technology has to be something that can present from a macro to a micro. So the life first, what does the life mean? Using videos, using interviews from homeowners, key employees, general managers from other properties to share the life. And then look at the building as a whole. Does the building feel good? Do the amenities that are offered resonate with the life that you want? Because they may not. I've had buyers say, you know, I just don't think this is a fit, and I'm okay with that. The technology has done exactly what I needed it to do. It helps someone make that very first critical decision. Is this a fit for them or not? And then using technology to dig into floor plans, to dig into views, and eventually even down to finishes and if needed, closet size and floor plans. But very much in pre-construction, I'm completely dependent on the technologies that I have access to. It's critical.
Yeah, what a difference even 5, 10, 15 years ago, selling off the big floor plans in the presentation center. Yeah, I used to be in new development myself. So even though technology was around 10 years ago, obviously all technology, but specifically for new development, we were still very paper-based. And that was fine, because I think the buyer, the consumers were more comfortable with that. And they're really only starting to get more comfortable, especially when they're expecting a luxury experience and a seamless experience now with some of these, more high profile projects. That's interesting. Okay, here's an off the script question. If you could snap your fingers and solve a problem, a process, a problem, something that doesn't exist for new development, what would it be? Can you think of something that you were like, damn, I've been doing this over and over again, or I wish there was something to accomplish X, Y, Z?
If I could snap my fingers and anything, it would be a way to find an easy mechanism to explain the difference between different residence types. Floor plans are one thing, but being able to show someone how a property lives, what it feels like to walk from room to room, the paces that it takes to walk down a hallway into a bedroom. I'd love to find a way, and if I could snap my fingers, that's what I do, to actually transport someone into that space. I've seen 3D renderings, and that does help, but if there was a way to make it even more tangible. I was actually meeting with an amazing woman who has a company that is working on that using artificial intelligence, where you put on, for example, a set of gloves and it allows you to touch the fabrics, so almost virtual reality like. So I think
Love that.
Snap my fingers for, I know is being worked on. And she just happened to walk into the sales gallery and we just talked about her industry, and she's the CEO of this company, and my jaw dropped, because that's exactly what I would love. If there was a way to bring not just the visual sense, but the touch, the feel, the smell, all of those to a buyer, I think would be incredible.
Wow. I'm just thinking here, we have this experience, and I think they're all over the place. Fly over Canada, fly over whatever city you're in, and they pump, smells, and the experience is very very involved. I feel like there could be something there.
To make it feel even more real for homeowners.
Love that. Okay, let's shift a little bit. Want to get to know you, if you feel comfortable, some introspective questions. Let's start off with, you lead the sales strategy for the Four Seasons. You're the CEO of a company. You can't do cookie cutter. I understand that. Where do you get your inspiration to fuel your next project, your next direction, and your expertise when you're consulting developers and clients? Where does that inspiration come from?
Having made a lot of mistakes, I think the inspiration comes from really not being afraid and realizing that the greatest gift you can ever give yourself is being able to pivot and know that you may think you have the most amazing idea of how to bring a project to the market, and it doesn't work. And knowing enough to trust yourself and allow yourself the ability to say, okay, that didn't work, let's pivot. And I think that once people give themselves that leeway, it's amazing what can be done. And I find that people approach real estate very much in a black and white sense, and it's not. It's gray. Every market is gray. And if you can wake up the next day and go, all right, yesterday really didn't work, let's see what we can do today. That's really the inspiration, recognizing that no day is the same. You're always going to come up with a better idea, hopefully a better one. but allowing yourself the ability to pivot and not being afraid to run headfirst into a wall. And if you hit it, okay, so you need to go a different direction, but hopefully don't run into walls, but not being afraid of hitting walls, not being afraid of being told no, not being afraid of it not working. Obviously, there's moments where it needs to work, but it's really in the trial and the error and recognizing that pivoting is what it's all about. And in today's market where there are constant changes, anybody that is not able to pivot is going to struggle because the market is constantly evolving. Our buyers are constantly evolving, and project to project, the messaging, the offering is going to be different. So you cannot approach it. You use the word cookie cutter. You can't approach it cookie cutter. It's always changing. I think that's why I love it so much.
To have the courage to be vulnerable, but in a way that's confident, like that in itself, not going in there understanding that everything is going to be exactly the way you want it to be, understanding there's going to be that gray area. That's really smart. I think in business and in life, it's hard to do that sometimes when everyone kind of puts a lot of pressure on you if you're in a position where you're leading a team. So glad that you've recognized that. I'm sure that's part of your success. Would love to know a little bit about perhaps a defining moment in your career. Maybe it was a real estate project or something totally unrelated to business that you feel stood out to you and really shaped you today.
Oh gosh.
Big question. Don't worry, take your time.
It's so funny. I'm still being defined. It's true. I mean, I think I am still being defined by every moment that I'm living. So hopefully I'll keep evolving myself. I think one of the biggest changes and moments that did define me was when my family moved from Europe to the United States. My father's French. My mother worked for the American embassies overseas. And having to completely start over from new friends. I have moved to Los Angeles in the mid 80s, where I came from bowl cut and navy blue socks. And it was the heyday of Madonna and Michael Jackson and neon. And I stuck out like a sore thumb. And I struggled making friends. I struggled fitting in. I stuttered on top of it. And I had to really rely on myself and make new friends and start over. And I think it's why I love the industry that I'm in, though, is every project is a new start. And even for my homeowners, so many of them say, this is a new start for us. This is phase 2, phase 3. And I can relate to that. So I think having had to start over myself, though, I was a girl, I think those emotions are one that you never forget. You leave a lot behind and you jump in to something new. And I think that gives you a lot of confidence. I think it allows you to really stand on your own 2 feet. But hopefully I'm still doing that daily and learning from it. Otherwise, my life's going to be quite boring.
That makes so much sense, and certainly has probably brought a lot of strength to your life, drawing those experiences from when you were young into the career that you have now. It's very cool. Okay, so now thinking about the younger generation who are looking at this industry and thinking, wow, it's so glamorous, I want to get into it. What's some advice you would give someone that's coming into this industry?
Go for it. It's an exciting industry. If you love people, if you enjoy meeting people and connecting with people, there is truly no better industry around. And I would say it's okay not to have the most amazing life-work balance in the beginning. Work your butt off, enjoy it. It's the most rewarding industry to be in, and be kind, be yourself. There is no standard of what you should dress like or be like. Just be you and be kind, have ethics, recognize at the end of the day, it has so much little to do with you and so much less to do with who you are, that as long as you are kind and you are respectful and you sell with ethics, people will be drawn to you. And it can be a very cutthroat industry. And as long as you stay true to who you are, it's amazing how people will gravitate to you. And so to anybody who's starting off in the industry, don't let it define you. Don't let it consume you. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Focus on you and how you would approach every person And it's one of the things I do love about Four Seasons is it's very much based on the golden rule. They have all over their literature, treat people the way you'd want to be treated yourself. And it's something
that's so beautiful.
and it's so simple. But it's something that I carry every day. How would you want to be treated? And if you treat someone that way, it's amazing how people will open up to you. Even the coldest, most, I'm not buying, buyers, will gravitate to your openness, your kindness, and recognizing that at the end of the day, you don't have an agenda. Your only job is to see if what you're offering is a fit for them. And so that's what I would say to anybody.
I wish I had that advice when I was getting started in the industry. Oh, that's really nice. This is we can edit this out if it doesn't make sense to you, but I always like to ask, like, is there something unconventional that you've learned along the way that's maybe not like a typical, like, inspiring piece of wisdom that you'd give someone, something funny or strange that, everyone should know, or maybe just learn from your own experiences and you think, hey, that's some good advice?
You're going to work exceptionally hard in this industry. Find passions outside of what you do. I surf. I love to surf. I love being at the beach. I'll go fly fishing. I love sitting on a ranch and going on hikes in the woods. Find things that do take you out of being in front of people. Find that alone time. Find that restorative balance that you need. Yes, I have terrible work-life balance. I'm the first person to admit it. I answer emails at 2 a.m. I'm terrible. I wake up and I go to work, and it's because I love what I do. So that's why, I say the work-life balance thing kind of in jest. If you love what you do, it's okay to do it as much as you want. It's not a bad thing. But I do think being kind, going and having fun, and finding ways to really restore yourself, replenish yourself.
I'm hearing be kind to others, but be kind to yourself as well.
It's exactly
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. And, as I said, I'm terrible at it. But when I go and sit in the middle of a river, believe it or not, in my waders, and I fly fish all day, there's no one around. And I do it on purpose because it's just me. I may or may not ever catch anything, but it's just me out there. Same thing with surfing. It's just me in the ocean. And it's so purifying and so restorative. So I don't know if it's conventional wisdom. I don't know if it's amazing genius insight, but you're going to work incredibly hard in this industry, no matter what industry you're in. Go have fun and do be kind to yourself. You're right.
Beautiful. Love it. All right. What's coming up? What's next in store for Indoor Outdoors? What are you guys working on? Can you share anything, any tease into what you're working on?
I can. So we are fortunate. We get contacted quite often for projects coming up, especially locally here in Nashville. Obviously, the sales team that I'm leading has created quite a buzz with regards to setting records in both price and sales volume, sale record after sale record. So there's a lot happening even within Nashville that we're kind of exploring. Within other brands, also nationally, there's other opportunities we're looking at. I think we're probably going to stay nationally as opposed to venturing more internationally, though I will consult internationally. But I think in terms of leading sales teams, it's going to be right here in the United States, and more than likely probably right here in Nashville for a little while.
Nice. More reason for us to visit you. Okay, so where can our viewers connect with you online? You said you're already getting lots of inquiries, but if someone wanted to inquire about a potential project, or maybe just connect on a personal level, is there a way for them to get in touch?
Absolutely. LinkedIn seems to be the best way to connect. So it's under my name, Marie-Laure Frère, easy to find. And yes, happy to connect with developers, happy to connect with people that are looking for consulting, even if it's just to get a sense of, is this viable, is it not viable? But especially for people who are new in the industry. I mentor a handful of up and coming individuals in my field, and I'm always happy to help and provide guidance, have a cup of coffee. I spend quite a bit of time doing that. So know that that's something I'm happy to do.
Well, that just about wraps up our conversation. Marie-Laure Frère, it's been delightful getting to know you. Just wanted to thank you again for spending the time with us, sharing your insights, your story. Behalf of the whole team at Spark, thank you. Truly, it's been great.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.